Paid traffic campaigns. For this section, I'm defining paid traffic campaigns in two forms. I can pay to boost the post, or I can pay for direct traffic to my target website. Please note that I have presented this information in that order. Boost posts first, and then pay for direct traffic. There's a reason for this. If you don't master Facebook's traffic to your page posts, then it doesn't make sense to go directly to your target website. You probably are going to spend a tremendous amount of money, time, and effort only to have very little to show for all that. It's better to boost a post in a strategic way so you can understand what kind of content connects with your intended audience. You will then be able to drive traffic to your website. You're actually killing several birds with one stone. By focusing on boosting a post, you can get more page likes, you can get more branding opportunities, and you can also get click-throughs to your target website in the form of a content link. Here's how it works. Post boosts. First, target a lookalike audience based on your user insight demographic. In other words, Facebook is going to show your ad to a fresh set of users who share the same demographic details and interests as your current page fans. People with these similarities are more likely to like your content. You're not going to pay Facebook to show your post to people who have already liked your page. Instead, you are trying to get fresh eyeballs to your page posts. You do run quite a bit of risk. Existing audience post boosts. The next option you have available to you is to boost your post to people who have actually liked your page. These are your actual page fans. They know roughly what you're about. They like your content enough to like your page. They're expecting your content. Unfortunately, like I said earlier, Facebook only shows your content to a small fraction of people who liked your content. Unless your fans select see first when they like your page, Facebook will use its natural algorithm to select the initial group of eyeballs that will show your page content. If enough people engage with your content, then Facebook will show even more of your page fans to your content. However, it's never going to show it to 100% of your fans. That rarely happens. This is why it's a good idea to boost your post to reach more of the people who have liked your page. The upside to this is these are not virgins. They've seen your page. In fact, they've seen it and liked it so much that they have clicked the like button and want to see your content. At least you know that there is some sort of interest there. Still, please understand that while there is a certain degree of familiarity there, and this increases the chance that these people will actually engage with your content and possibly click through to your target site, that isn't exactly guaranteed. Existing audience plus their friends. As the old saying goes, birds of a feather flock together. Friends usually have shared interests. In fact, if you think about it hard enough, that's the main reason we became friends in the first place. We have certain interests in common. We have certain things to talk about, and that's why we're friends. Makes a lot of sense, right? Well, you can apply that to Facebook marketing as well, because this can produce a tremendous amount of marketing opportunities. Since your page fans also have friends on Facebook, you can buy a post boost that shows your ad not only to your fans, but to their friends as well. This is my favorite when it comes to post boosts because it is a cheap way of getting clicks to your target site. You reach a much wider audience. Please understand that if your page has a fairly small number of likes, even if you boost post after post, you only have a small base to work with. Now, if you expand that base by including your existing audience plus their friends, you have a lot more people to work with. You are operating with some level of confidence because you know that friends usually have shared interests. This translates to possibly cheap clicks to your target site. The best way to do this is to post a link directly to your content or to your promotional page on your website with some content. This way, when someone clicks through, they go straight to your website. They can read your commentary and some preview text, but the text should call them to action. This is the cleanest way to get direct traffic cheaply using post boosts targeting your existing audience and their friends. Direct traffic to your target site. The next option is to promote a target URL directly. It doesn't show a post from your page. It just goes directly to your target website paired with a picture. This is the direct traffic option on Facebook. To become successful with this, you have to use the lookalike audience based on your engaged users' insight data. In other words, your Facebook page should be mature enough for you to get solid consumer intelligence that you can then use to target potentially interested audiences on Facebook. That's the best way to do this. There are other ways. You can run raw targeting. Basically, you're not relying on user insight. Instead, you're just looking for an age range and a geographic location. You're also using gender. In certain situations, this may pay off. In fact, you may get better results than lookalike audiences, but generally speaking, you should focus on using the consumer intelligence your Facebook page gathered so you can reach people who are very similar to people you know have demonstrated a solid interest in whatever it is you're promoting. Best practices. Use them to boost your results. First, run small tests. This enables you to fail quickly. People who really know their way around Facebook run campaign after campaign after campaign until they're able to connect the dots and come up with a campaign that actually works. This is why you need to run small, cheap tests so you can easily see which campaigns are working out and which ones have failed. Next, make sure your budget is low. Usually, when I run a $1 campaign, that is good enough for me. $1 a day for 7 days a week, that is good enough for me to see if an ad has potential. So, I would run several ads. We're talking about $70 for 10 ads running at the same time. Third, focus on what works. Let me tell you, when you run many small tests, the winners stand out. Either they get clicks or not. That's the bottom line. However, at this stage, you're not just looking for clicks. You're not just looking for an ad campaign that gets a lot of attention. Instead, you're also going to look for an ad campaign that actually delivers conversions. You're going to have to set up your Facebook pixel to your target website so you can track whether traffic from Facebook went all the way through. I'm not just talking about traffic produced when people click on your link and they go to a content page and they leave. That's worthless. That's not going to help you. That traffic has to go to the content page, go to the sales page, and eventually make it to the shopping cart. That's when you know your campaign actually has traction. Focus on what works. Focus on what gets a high click-through rate paired with a conversion rate. However, to get there, you're going to have to burn through many ads. This is not going to jump out at you. It's not going to be obvious. It's not going to be easy. Once you have identified that ad and you've fine-tuned it, then scale it up. That's how this works. Basically, you focus on what works and then pour real money into it. Paid lead generation campaigns. Did you know that on Facebook you can collect email? That's right, you can collect leads. It's pretty straightforward. You can run ad campaigns with a lead collection button. It can be find out more, sign up, or other language. Regardless, if you're running this type of campaign, it must be highly targeted. It's really important that your targeting is spot on. I put this part of Facebook ad marketing at this point in the list of marketing methods because this takes quite a bit of work. You should be quite familiar with Facebook before you even try this. You should know your way around Facebook's ad system before you engage in paid lead generation because it can get quite expensive. If your ad doesn't get many clicks or it's super finely targeted, you don't really have that many people to work with, and this can drive up your costs. You have to know how to optimize your ad campaigns on Facebook for this to make sense. You can optimize on many levels. There are 3 levels you can optimize. Level 1, you can tweak the freebie you're giving away. This is the free stuff that you're giving away, so people are motivated to enter their email address into your form. Maybe you're giving away free membership access. Perhaps you're giving away a booklet or a book or a report, a set of templates, a set of graphics, possibly even giving away software or a mobile app. Whatever the case may be, you are giving out freebies, and you need to optimize these. What I mean by that is the freebie that you give must motivate the most people in your target audience to sign up for your mailing list. This is not easy. You cannot assume that just because you think that your booklet is awesome or is the next best thing since sliced bread doesn't automatically mean people will agree with you. It doesn't work that way. You may have to switch from one freebie to the other until you get a high enough sign-up rate that would tell you that the freebie that you have selected is the right one. Thankfully, this is fairly easy to do with Facebook. You basically run different ads that offer different premiums. Level 2. Level 2 optimization focuses on optimizing your ad copy. As I've mentioned above, lead generation campaigns on Facebook can and do get very expensive. It seems like you're doing all this for basically a handful of emails. This is why it's really important to make sure that you run a fully optimized campaign to get the most results. How do you do this? Well, you optimize your ad copy on an elemental level. Still, I want you to get a heads up this early on regarding the amount of optimization that you would have to do. It is quite intensive. You can't leave things at a surface level. That's just not going to work. Level 3. Level 3 involves optimizing based on conversions. When people click on your Learn More or Sign Up button, they're shown a form. You're going to have to keep tweaking that form to say what it needs to say to convert as much of your traffic into list members as much as possible. This takes quite a bit of time and attention to detail. Again, you have to run these experiments while minimizing your costs. Once you find out something that works, optimize it to increase its level of conversion. Once you have picked a winner that cannot be optimized any further in terms of conversion rate improvements, that's when you scale up. That's when you pour in the dollars to reach as many people as possible to boost your mailing list sign-up. Facebook Pixel Retargeting Campaign. Facebook enables you to put their tracking pixel on your website. It will then track when people go on your site. If people end up at your shopping cart, for example, you can then run an ad reminding people about your site or reminding people about the products that they almost bought. They see these ads on Facebook. Whatever the case may be, Facebook Pixel Retargeting gives you another bite at the apple. One of the biggest problems with e-commerce is that prospective buyers abandon their shopping carts. A large chunk of these buyers simply decide at the last minute or at some point in the buying process to dump their shopping cart. They don't follow through. This is where the retargeting campaign begins. It's basically a way of reminding people who have already expressed an interest in whatever it is you're offering to come back. If anything, you recycle traffic that you have gotten from Facebook. Another benefit of this technology is that it pulls traffic from Facebook that you did not get from it originally. For example, if you did an independent marketing campaign completely free of Facebook, but you put a Facebook retargeting pixel on your page, when people from that independent campaign, maybe it's a forum promotion or search engine optimization or another social media platform or whatever source, go back to Facebook to check their accounts, your ad will show up. Sounds awesome, right? These are all possible through a Facebook Pixel retargeting campaign. There are 2 steps to it, and it's pretty straightforward. Install Facebook Pixel on your website. The first thing that you need to do is to install the Facebook tracking pixel on your site. To do this, you just go to Facebook's business section and look for their pixels instructions. It's pretty straightforward. Even if you're using WordPress as your content management system, installing Facebook Pixel is a breeze. Next, you need to make sure that you drive traffic to your site. This means that you have to let traffic flow to your site for quite some time before you launch a retargeting campaign. It's not a good idea to launch a campaign as quickly as possible. You have to have enough targeting pixels installed in people's browsers for this to make sense. Otherwise, there are just not enough people to work with. Now, keep in mind that if you are in a niche that has generally low traffic levels, then you would have to conduct your campaign even though the overall traffic flow to your website is fairly low. Run ads on Facebook for retargeting. The ads that you're going to run for Facebook Pixel retargeting are going to be a bit different from the normal boosted posts or picture links that you run on Facebook. Instead, these are going to try to achieve 2 things. You can remind people about what they did. Maybe they wanted to buy something, but they changed their mind at the last minute. Perhaps they were reading some sort of conversion article and were about to enter their email address, but they didn't. Whatever the case may be, you're reminding them to come back to what they were doing before. The other thing that you can do with your Facebook Pixel retargeting campaign is to pull people deeper into your website. Usually, a website is composed of 2 parts. The first layer is the content layer, meaning you're trying to get people to know about the problem, like your particular solution, and eventually trust the solution enough so they can buy. The other part, of course, is pretty straightforward. It's all about buying. But there's a complication. A lot of people would go through the content layers, but they never make it through to the actual buying part. They never make it to your conversion page. This is where retargeting ads that pull people deeper into your website makes a lot of sense. For whatever reason, somebody reading an article on your site decides to close the window and get out of your site. You can run ads that tell them about content, but another piece of content that is related to what they were reading before. This pushes them further down the conversion funnel. Alternatively, you can run an ad that promotes your conversion page. Basically, what you're saying to the prospect is you've figured out what my website is about, and you have a clear understanding of what I have to offer. Maximizing your results from Facebook Pixel retargeting. I suggest that if you want to maximize the results you get from retargeting, promote your squeeze page. That's right. Promote the page that recruits people to your mailing list. Usually there's some sort of freebie. There's usually some sort of book or booklet that you're giving away so people can enter their email address. Whatever the case may be, push the squeeze page. Don't dump them to your sales page unless, as I have mentioned above, they actually reached your shopping cart or conversion page and changed their minds at the last minute. That's pretty much the only situation where you should retarget showing an ad that goes directly to the conversion page. Other than that, convert them to sign up for your mailing list. It's your mailing list with its many chances of gaining attention, building trust, and gaining credibility, which will actually do the heavy lifting as far as converting that prospect into an actual sale. How to optimize your Facebook ad campaigns. Follow the steps below so you don't overthink things and make bad decisions when optimizing your FB ads. Reverse engineer your competitors and come up with a standard model. If you have a personal account, find your competitors and like their pages. Before you know it, you'll start seeing ads either from your competitors themselves or from businesses that are very similar to your competitors. Pay close attention to these ads. Reverse engineer them to find the standard model for these ads. In other words, go through as many of these ads as possible and get a clear understanding of what kind of pictures, headlines, and text they use. Also, if they are mostly promoting posts, pay attention to that. Whatever the case may be, look at what they're doing and see common patterns. Focus on the most commonly used strategies because this gives you the industry standard model. Don't get sidetracked by ads that seem so different, so new or so innovative because if they are so different from the industry standard model, they're outliers. There's a high chance that those ads do not convert. Come up with your own version and test with a low budget. Test with a low budget. You don't want to burn through a tremendous amount of cash during the testing process. There will be a time and place for you to get crazy with the budget, but now is not the time. Create variations and test. Now that you have come up with your own version of the standard model, create variations of it and then run low-budget tests. Do not do this randomly. Do not do this based on your feelings or impulses. Instead, you have to follow certain rules on how to create variations. Otherwise, you wouldn't know which part of the ad accounts for its greater success. I've seen this happen many times. In fact, I've committed this mistake before. I would take an ad and test it. I would notice that it's not getting that many clicks, so I'd change half of the ad. Maybe I changed the picture and then the headline, or I would change the heading and the description. Whatever the case may be, I would change half of the ad, and sure enough, it would improve. But when I try to improve things again by changing the other half of the ad, it falls apart. You want to establish a way of effectively tracking which changes accounted for which improvement. By using this method, you can optimize parts that work to reach peak convertibility and then work on the other elements of the ad that could use some improvement. However, you have to do this in a systematic way. I've described this in the section below. Pick the winner and make further variations. Now that you have made variations of the original and you ran a test, there will be at least one winner. It gets the most clicks and conversions. Make variations of it and you run the test again. Keep testing until you find the ad that delivers the best return on investment. The end of this process is pretty straightforward. You keep making variations and you keep testing on the cheap until you find an ad that delivers the best ROI. In other words, it delivers the most conversions while costing very little money. I know it sounds like a fantasy at this point, but it is doable with testing. Scale up. Increase your ad budget to your winning ad to pump a massive amount of traffic to it. You should only do this when you are dead sure that you have a winning ad on your hands. In other words, you have tested it rigorously and have optimized it to the point that it cannot improve its conversion rate any further. That's when it's ready to go big time. Make sure you optimize on an elemental level. The big problem with the ad optimization method I described above is how do you know which part of the ad to change up? How do you know which part of the ad to optimize? Wholesale variations do not work. You can't just take an ad, see that it doesn't work, replace it with a completely different ad, see that it doesn't work, and then repeat that process. Even if you're spending very little money, it still burns a tremendous amount of time, effort, and opportunities. You need to have a better way to turbocharge your results. Vary on an element-by-element basis. I would take an ad, and I would restrict my optimization to a specific element of that ad. Every ad actually has many elements. There is the graphics, the heading, the description, the link. I would start with one element, and I will come up with different versions. The most obvious part is the picture. So I'd play around with the different pictures and see which gets the most clicks. I would then come up with a variation of that picture and see if I can improve my click-through rate. Again, I'm spending very little money here. I just want to see an improvement in click-through rate for that element that I'm varying. Once I have reached a plateau and I can't improve any more on that element, I would then switch to another element. For example, if I'm running a campaign for dog food and I notice that my best performing picture after a series of variations is a picture of a chihuahua that seems to be smiling, I will keep that picture, but then I will then switch to the next element of the ad, which is the headline. I would then keep varying the headline to see if I can improve the conversion rate of that ad. Once I've reached the ceiling or a plateau for improvements in conversions due to headline changes, I then move to the description. Do you see how this works? You know that you have to vary an element if you keep picking the winning variation. You do this with small tests until the whole ad is optimized. After all elements have been optimized, scale up your ad buy. Once I've gotten an ad that converts much better than its original form, and I've gone through all the elements, now is the time to scale up. This is where I pour quite a large amount of cash into my Facebook ad campaign to boost traffic.